Hey, kia ora, welcome back everybody. We're here for another reaction to the NZSAS First Among Equals documentary, part 2 of 2. So let's jump in.
With a lot of weapons skills in in-room combat, you learn to think quickly on your feet. You have to. If you can't, then you'll make a mistake. You make a mistake and someone will die.
You've got to pick up threats or something that's not quite right and deal with it straight away.
You've got to know that it's a target to shoot, to kill, or it's a safe one. Could be somebody putting his hands up there unless you see the weapon. So, within a fraction of a second, the guy's got to learn how to react.
I think it's cool that they've got these guys speaking about it and those that have been through it. And I think even anybody that hasn't gone through that type of training but has observed and seen already has an idea of the split-second decisions that you need to make when you're conducting, in this case, counterterrorism or CQB or anything really in contact, whether it's green roll stuff or whether it's CT or counterterrorism CQB stuff. But in the CQB urban environment, going into rooms where there's potentially hostages, etc., it does bring a significantly more, I suppose, pressure dynamic to that environment when you're looking to, from everything from stacking up on the door to making entry, dynamic entry into the room as hard and as fast as you can, being mindful that you could be getting rounds or walking into a booby trap or IED or anything within that space. You don't know what's on the other side. So yeah, listening to these guys, like those basics, those fundamentals are all still the same as far as I'm aware, and that same type of information, and I guess maybe somewhat sensory overload at times, which can happen, is still a core part, and needing to be able to take that information on, or needing to be able to respond and or react appropriately within a short period of time is huge.
Week 6 inside New Zealand's SAS headquarters, and the unit's 5 newest soldiers are ready to move to the next level of counter-terrorism training. Rehearsal for missions in urban settings.
All attempts by the police negotiating team to contact the terrorists have so far failed. The only communications have been a terrorist yelling from the doorway of the building. If the police approach, the hostages will be killed.
Tempo just ramps up a little bit more. There is no sort of, this is, just a rehearsal. There's an end, there's a goal.
By now they're living, breathing the SAS life. Even their response time on a day off is tested.
You could be at the movies. Beeper goes off, give the girl a kiss and hand over your jaffers and off you go.
There's a set procedure to every step.
In today's world that we live in, there are real threats out there.
I was going to say, Dale, and he said, give your girl a kiss, hand over your jaffers, and off you go. I would probably still keep my jaffers and scoff those on my way to the call.
Threats that can materialise almost instantaneously.
This training is not for if, but when.
The mission, the CTT, is to move by 1,800 hours today. The recce car is already gone, and that was the OC Delta 1, 12 and the SIG. I want N6.
Until now, the 5 new troopers have been blooded into A Squadron's broad counter-terrorism training.
All right, lads, disappear.
Now each man must learn the functions of working in a small counter-terrorism patrol.
You do have to start from the bottom and receive the counsel and wisdom of those who have gone ahead, because they will learn innovative techniques. They will know the specific improvisations required for various theaters.
You're ultimately the fourth wheel to a patrol that's on operations. Do they trust you? Are you going to hold up? Are you going to be good enough?
Got a schematic of the interior. It's just a basic 4-room layout. Don't take too long.
You keep your mouth shut and you learn off them. That's what you do.
This patrol is preparing to clear rooms and search for hostages in an exercise designed to sharpen reactions.
That was great advice by Dale and Eddie as well. Keep your mouth shut, you learn off them. That is a big part of it. But again, don't be afraid to ask questions on there. If you're not sure, or if you haven't been able to take on the information that's been communicated to you, don't go in there trying to bluff your way through. Don't go into the room with live rounds with your mates thinking, oh yeah, she'll be right. Like, don't do that. At the same time, like, it's a hard one. You don't want to. You should not need to be that guy or that person that's got to question everything, So that'll stick out as well. But you should have been sussed out by then anyway, before you get to this stage. If you're sort of wired that way, or you got to question every single little thing. I'm not saying it's bad to ask questions. It's not. You should 100% ask questions. But if you're, I think people will know. If you're that guy, or you know people that are that person that ask questions about every little thing, everything along the way, then you know what I'm talking about. You don't want to be that guy, is what I'm trying to get at.
Your senses now are really fired up. Focused on capturing what mental images you had in your head before you went through, i.e. what the layout of the rooms were.
Though sometimes compared to Secret Agent James Bond, in reality SAS soldiers have no license to kill.
Stand by, go.
Their actions are strictly governed by domestic and international laws.
Everything's split second.
Working at speed, the patrol aims to neutralise the terrorist threat without harming the civilians. For the new troopers, the consequences of any mistakes have been drummed home.
That training could be the difference between an innocent, the difference between you going to prison.
For the 5 new troopers, striving to attain SAS standard while mastering the complexities of counter-terrorism brings extra pressure.
That's the tricks of the trade. It's business.
So they must practice and practice. Everything is preparing them for potential domestic or international operations.
Venezuela security forces, we here to rescue you.
And they bide their time for the chance to fight in the international war on terror.
Room is not safe. Get.
First year in the black role, it was a huge learning curve again. You're really homing your skills.
Now the new troopers move to the infiltration.
Black role, counter-terrorism role, for those that may not be aware, I'm pretty sure most people are probably aware by now. That's the term that at least was used at the time.
Phase of counter-terrorism training. During cycle, they learn the basics of helicopter infiltration in an open environment. Now they must train for very different terrain, an assault on New Zealand's largest city.
May be just where the SAS have to exercise their skills in the event of a terrorist attack.
Like most NZSAS missions, the infiltration will be done under the cover of darkness. There is no margin of error above the Queen City, with the weight of each soldier's body armour and weaponry adding to the challenge of unpredictable winds.
You've done the drill so many times, you know something's wrong and you'll focus back on it. But some things you just got to become instinctive.
Yeah, very true what Fish is talking about. You're trying to, maybe I didn't consciously know this. It's been over time and later on that I realised we're trying to develop that consciousness type behaviour, or having things become automatic is probably the term. Instinctive, like Fish spoke about, so that you don't have to send any bandwidth towards thinking about every little piece of the drill, or where all my kit is, or where my mate's kit is, or how we're going to be approaching, or the building or the door, or how we're going to methodically make our way through clearing the building. You've still got all of that, but because you're rehearsing it and you're going through it, you're thinking about it, you're talking about it, you're doing the rehearsals, and then you're trying to tweak and correct anything that you might make mistakes on. It does, a lot of it does become instinctive, but then still needing to and have the ability to think on the fly. So when you're in there and you're going through the building or the target that you need to clear to try to get to point X, wherever that is, where you suspect the hostages are, and you encounter another room or a door or an obstacle that was just not part of the plan, wasn't part of the rehearsals, so that ability or need to be adaptable and flexible and to be able to move and think on the fly while still staying on target or staying on mission, on task, is it's a beautiful thing, man. It's awesome. Like, I think people might have the mistake of thinking that you're born with it when you go in. I have spoken with some people that have sort of expressed that to a degree. I know I wasn't born with it. And I know a lot of the people that I went through training with in both NZ and in Australia weren't born with it. It's something that you learn, that you develop. But on the cycle, at least where you're first sort of getting your fundamentals down, you have to be able to take on that information in a really short period of time. And you need to be able to try to implement that and apply it as effectively as you can. And if you can't do simple things like Dale mentioned, shut your mouth, katia to waha, and turn on your ears, he taonga me te whakarongo me te titiro, or, it's a treasure to listen and to observe what's going on and to take in that information, or then, you will struggle and you will get a tap on the shoulder and you will be told, yep, hey, you're going to have to go. Like, yes, you're right when I've heard, hey, surely these things take time. There have been those questions, surely things take time. Is there some sort of leniency, that sort of stuff? I think the unit is very lenient in what they do. Yes, it may feel like drinking out of a fire hose with the information that's come in. I got that term from Nick Caldwell when I had a chat with him a few years ago. But there is a purpose for that. I sort of touched on it briefly when you're going through buildings, when you're needing to do things and you're needing to adapt on the fly. You're not going to have a lot of time. And so to try to simulate some of that stuff to a degree within your training, and particularly on the cycle, you're going to be fed a heck of a lot of information, and you need to try to take that on and assimilate it as quick as you can, and then effectively apply it as per the way that it was explained, demonstrated for you. So, yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Been a few questions around that. How do you take on so much information? Is there any sort of leniency? Yeah, they are lenient. You will likely get a talking to, and then if you still haven't got it after that, well, then you get another talking to, and then it's ka kits, see you later. Or, yeah.
A concrete structure replaces soft grass. This training is a far cry from actual combat infiltration because there are no enemy bullets here. But in Vietnam in 1969, an NZSAS patrol would be fighting for their lives after a chopper infiltration.
You really didn't. I didn't worry, and I don't think anybody else did too much about the fact that you're going to be killed, and if you're killed, you're killed.
The patrol was about to step straight into the sights of a waiting enemy.
And we went into this huge deserted rice paddy on the edge of some scrub. It was to be a 5-day patrol, if I remember rightly.
Their planned 5-day mission would last only a matter of minutes once the Kiwis entered the scrub full of silent Vietnamese.
The patrol lasted 26 minutes and we covered 26 metres. It was a hive of activity of whatever the enemy were. I couldn't tell you whether they were North Vietnamese or Viet Cong because it was the wet season and the grass was very, very tall.
The soldiers scrambled to await a helicopter extraction.
It was a big clearing, so there's quite a bit of time when you're exposed to the possibility of ground fire.
Holding their nerve, the 5 New Zealanders fired over 400 rounds and launched 25 grenades.
If everybody's yelling and shouting and nobody's listening, then it's chaos, isn't it? And we all stayed in a little tight bundle while they sorted out the tree line with the gunfire.
Finally, armoured helicopters came to the aid of the besieged Kiwis. Escaping the overwhelming odds, it was one of the shortest missions in the entire Vietnam War.
Well, you don't know what you're going into, eh? Far out. What was it, 26 minutes? They covered a ground of about 26 metres, I think I heard him say. The other important part, which I think is worth mentioning as well, he said right at the start, they never really gave any thought, or I'm interpreting that as you're not going to give it a lot of in-depth thought, just constantly letting it occupy your mind about the fact that you could die. You deploy on operations, there's a high possibility, if you're within an SF unit, or even in recent times, even if you weren't within an SF unit, high probability or chances of, that you may not return home. And so I could connect or resonate with what the gentleman, the ex-NZSAS guy, was talking about there, because it's something that was there, it's in the back of your mind, but you sort of just, I can only speak for myself, you just sort of compartmentalize that and block it out, by and large, at least for me anyway, because you're rolling onto a job and you can't be occupying your mind with, am I going to see my wife again? Am I going to see my kids again? Am I going to be able to get back home? Will I see my mum? Whatever. Like that stuff is, in my opinion, needs to be well in the back of your mind, or locked away somewhere. Because if it isn't, and it's just at the surface the whole time, you're not effective. In my opinion, you're not going to be effective for your team. You're not going to be able to do your job or concentrate or do it to the best of your ability. And again, that's part of the reason why selection is what it is, why the cycle is what it is. And once you get in, then you've still got those training wheels on, and you're still needing to close the mouth, eyes on, ears on, and do as you're told. Asking questions where you need to get clarification, but taking on that information as quickly as you can. So yeah, you'll be weeded out by then anyway, I would imagine.
It's now time for the unit's newest troopers to face their most challenging counter-terrorism exercise: infiltration by night into downtown Auckland.
At night, swarming on top of a high-rise building. You don't want to miss the spot.
As they train, the five know there can be no mistake.
Hey, what I'll do there is I'm going to pause this one. It's about 17 minutes. I think if I can try to make them a bit shorter, it might mean that I've got to do more reactions, but that's okay. The other part is that there's a whole bunch of other ones as well, which are sort of stacked up, lined up at the moment. So it'll give me some time to edit, to upload, etc., do all of that stuff, and then get on to the other ones. So yeah, fair bit, or a bit covered there. We've still got a little under an hour of this part 2 of the documentary, and then that'll be the Australian and then the NZ SAS selections and stuff done. Obviously, NZ one goes into the cycle as well. The Australian search for warriors doesn't go into the cycle, but it's still fairly chunky and long. It's a 2-part over there as well, that documentary about the SASR selection. I've done there were some questions about that. I have done a reaction to those ones. I think I did the reactions to those 2 first. And when I was first starting this thing in terms of reactions and trying to leverage some of my experience to provide a little bit more insight, have a bit of a laugh along the way in that as well, I made the mistake of just doing a marathon reaction to, I think, part 1 and then to part 2. So hence why I've learned to try to chunk those up a little bit more. It does mean, it doesn't get through everything as nicely as people might like, but that's why I'll try to put the links in the description for the full uninterrupted versions of the documentary, and then you can just watch it in peace without me interrupting. So anyway, that being said, thank you very much once again for your time, for your attention, for any likes or subscribes or comments that you put in. If I haven't gotten to you, I apologize in terms of replying. I'm doing my best to try to get back to everybody with regards to the comments that come through, but really enjoying the process. Primarily, I'm enjoying creating the content, right, and then putting it up. So that's where a lot of my focus is. And then with regards to the channel update that I gave yesterday, in terms of the other things that are working in the background and behind the scenes, that is taking up a fair bit of bandwidth as well. So the primary, the reactions, the Q&A, the supporting those that are looking to do selection, and then the other chunk of my bandwidth has been used on those other aspects of the channel in terms of what I'd like to do and what I'm interested in doing. So with your support, with your help, None of this is possible, so I sincerely appreciate it, and thank you all very much for your time. With that being said, any challenges, obstacles, trials that you may be going through, that you may be facing today, that you may have faced yesterday, that may be coming up on the horizon, I just encourage you to keep turning up, keep staying in the fight, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and trust and know that the sun will shine again and that there are better days ahead. Can't tell you when those will be, but if you stay consistent and disciplined and keep turning up and keep staying in the fight, I guarantee you that they will come. So, as always, go always a little further. Remember, who dares wins. And until the next video, a big mana away from me to you.